Long ago, in a little village in Austria, there lived a shoemaker with 3 sons. One of the sons was named Hansel. Hansel was a very eager young fellow. He always wanted to help out. But Hansel was also a very clumsy young fellow. If you got Hansel to make dinner, the dinner would end up burned. If you had Hansel wash the dishes would end up broken. If you had Hansel sweep the floor, the broom would be in splinters by the time he was done. One day, Hansel's father and brothers had some business in a neighboring village. Hansel, you just stay here and, well, you just stay here. Well, I can do something, father. What can I do around the house? No, that's all right. Oh, please, father. All right, Hansel. You know that little apple tree we've planted in the backyard? Why don't you get a pail, go to the stream, fetch some water, and you can water the apple tree? Yes, father. All right. Thank you, father. So off his family went, and Hansel went to the cupboard and rummaged around and knocked many things over, but he got a pail, and then he rushed outside and he went into the woods in behind the house. And he was so excited he wasn't really paying attention to where he was going, and he took a wrong turn, and then he tripped on a root, and he rolled down a slope, and he was okay. But when he got up and looked around, well, the stream was nowhere in sight. He didn't know where he was. But there was a crumbling old well nearby. There wasn't much water in it, but probably enough to fill the bucket, so Hansel said, well, here's wishing that the well water is even better for that tree than the stream water, and the tree grows to be the biggest tree in the world ever. Okay, here we go. And he lowered the bucket down and got some water, and it took him several tries to get it back up without spilling, but eventually he got the bucket, and he began to wander around in the woods until eventually he got back to the path and managed to get back to his house. And by this point, he'd sloshed most of the water out of the bucket, but there was still a little bit. So he went up to that apple tree, and he poured it out, and he mostly missed the tree, but a few drops landed right at the bottom of the little trunk. And Hansel went inside, and his family came home that evening. They had their meal, they went to bed, and in the morning, they woke up and found they had a real Jack and the Beanstalk situation on their hands. Overnight, that little apple tree had grown all the way up to the sky. For as you can probably guess, that well must have been an enchanted well. Hansel was amazed. Hansel's family was amazed. The entire village was amazed. And word soon spread to the neighboring towns. And soon people were coming from far and wide to see the wondrous apple tree. This proved quite profitable. Hansel's father could charge admission for those who wanted to get up close, and the local inn was full for weeks on end. But eventually interest died down. And with that giant tree shading the valley, well, the local gardens and crops were struggling to grow. So the villagers decided the wondrous tree needed to come down. I can help, father. I can help. Give me the axe. I can have a go. No, Hansel. That's all right. You just watch. So Hansel's father took an axe, and Hansel's brothers had a saw, and several other villagers helped. And they began to chop and saw, and it did nothing. The bark of that tree was so thick, so hard, the axe blades were soon dull, the saw teeth were soon twisted in all sorts of strange directions. The wondrous tree wasn't going anywhere. And a few more days passed, and the crops and the gardens continued to struggle. And then Hansel himself had an idea one evening. Father? Yes, Hansel? The tree is quite large. Yes, Hansel. And it's an apple tree. Yes, Hansel. People are gonna go quite hungry, aren't they? Yes, Hansel. Do you think there might be giant apples at the top of the tree? Yes, Hansel. I'm gonna climb the tree and get those apples, father. No, Hansel. No, I don't think you climbing the tree would be the best idea. But having someone climb is a good plan. And so the next day, one of Hansel's brothers got ready to climb the tree. He had a pack of food, and he had a sack full of little old wooden shoes, so that if he climbed out of sight, he could occasionally toss one down so they would know he was okay. And so Hansel's brother started to climb. And the branches didn't begin until many hundreds of feet up, but the bark was so thick and furrowed it was like climbing a craggy cliff face. So up and up he went all morning. And around noon, whoo! A little wooden shoe came down. And later that afternoon, they saw Hansel's brother slowly climbing back down. When he got to the bottom, he said, "I'm sorry. It's too hard to climb. I could have gone for days and days before reaching the top." So the next day, Hansel's second brother tried. He had the pack of provisions. He had the sack of wooden shoes. Up he went all morning. Around noon, whoo! A shoe came down. Later that afternoon, whoo! Another shoe came down. But that evening, they saw the second brother descending the tree, and he got to the bottom. He too said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry, it's too hard to climb. Could have gone for days and days without reaching the top." So that night, while his brothers and father were asleep, Hansel got the pack of food, and Hansel got that sack of shoes, and Hansel began to climb the tree. Now, his father was right. This was really a bad idea. Hansel was very clumsy. And just as the tree blocked out the sun by day, well, it blocked out the moon by night. It was pitch black as Hansel started to climb. But I think the tree must have known that it was Hansel climbing. Hansel who'd given it that enchanted drink that had helped it reach the sky. So it seemed to help Hansel reach the sky. Everywhere he groped in the dark, there was something to grab hold on. Everywhere he stepped, there was a ledge of bark to stand on. Up and up Hansel went. In the morning, his family awoke and were worried. Until, whoo! They saw a shoe come down. And later that day, another came down. And Hansel had climbed all through the night, all through that day. And evening was falling, and he was quite tired. And so he was very relieved when he saw above him a large hollow in the tree trunk, and a warm glow coming from that hollow. And he pulled himself up and peered inside, and inside the hollow was like the inside of a little house. And there was a wrinkled old woman. He said, "Oh, good evening, madam. I'm going to the top of the tree to get giant apples. Do you know how much longer it's going to be?" "Oh, well, I am only Monday. You'll have to go up to the hollow of my sister Tuesday and on at least till Saturday, I should think. But you look very tired. Come in, and if you help cook and clean, I'll share my meal and you can stay here for the night." So although Hansel was very tired, he went into the little house hollow, and he helped Lady Monday. He helped make the meal. He burned quite a bit, but less than he usually did. And afterward he washed dishes and broke several, but fewer than he usually did. And he swept the floor, and the broom handle cracked a bit, but not all the way in two. And Lady Monday didn't seem to mind. So they ate what food they could, and Hansel slept. And in the morning, he dropped down a shoe, thanked Lady Monday, and climbed until that evening he reached the hollow of Lady Tuesday, who was even older and more wrinkled. But once again, he did chores, and he did them better than ever, in exchange for lodging. And the next morning he dropped down a shoe. He said, "I suppose I have to go see your next sister, Lady Wednesday." "Oh, no," said Lady Tuesday. No, Wednesday is no sister of mine. Wednesday is a hideous old man whose gaze will knock the flesh off your bones. You must avoid Wednesday and go up to my sister Thursday instead." Well, Hansel didn't need telling twice, so he managed to sidle around to the far side of the trunk, and he went all that day, and all the next night, and all the following day, and he was utterly exhausted by the time he at last reached the hollow of Lady Thursday. And once again, he did the chores better than ever, and he had a place to stay, and he kept dropping shoes. He'd brought a lot of those wooden shoes. And up he went to Friday and Saturday, who was the oldest and most wrinkled of all. And that next morning he thanked Lady Saturday. He said, "Do you have another sister, Lady Sunday, even higher up?" "I don't know. No one's gone that high before, but I think if you keep going, you'll find the branches with the apples soon enough." So out Hansel went, and he began to climb, and there were some branches now, but no apples yet. And he kept climbing until around midday he couldn't climb any more. He seemed to have reached the roof of the sky, like a blue dome, and the tree trunk went right up into it. And in the roof of the sky there was a little trap door with a golden lock and a golden key. Well, clumsy old Hansel would have fumbled that key all the way back down to the earth, or turned it the wrong way till it snapped. But with Lady Saturday, he had made a meal and not burnt anything. He had washed dishes and not broken a single one. He had swept the floor, and not a twig was out of place. And so he very smoothly, very confidently opened that trapdoor and pulled himself deftly up. And he found himself in a remarkable country. Golden fields stretched out in every direction. And behind him were the topmost branches of the apple tree, with enormous golden apples that glowed like little suns. And Hansel went over, he took out a pocket knife, and he cut off a bit of the apple, and he ate it, and oh, it was sweeter than honey. And any exhaustion, any tiredness he'd felt from that week-long climb vanished. He felt like he could live forever. So he went back to the trapdoor, still had a couple shoes left, dropped one down, and then he went and he cut down the apple, and it was surprisingly light in his hands, almost like a balloon, and he gently pushed it down, and it floated down, that golden glowing apple, past Lady Saturday, and Friday, and Thursday, and hideous old man Wednesday, and Tuesday and Monday, all the way to the base of the tree, where it landed on the ground beside a little pile of wooden shoes. And Hansel's father and brothers were praying nearby for him. And they saw the apple, and they went to pick it up, but before they could touch it, the apple sunk into the ground. Well, for a moment they were dismayed, but then there was a pulse of golden light that rippled through the ground, past their feet, past the edges of their house, past the neighboring houses, all through the valley. And where a moment before there had been empty gardens and struggling crops, there were now bountiful gardens and abundant crops all around. Well, some people say that Hansel soon came down from the tree and lived to be the oldest and wisest man in the village. But others say that he stayed up there his entire life. But that from time to time, when the village was in need, he would cut down one of those golden apples of the sun and send it down to help the village in need, along with a wooden shoe or two. And that's the story of the Wondrous.